We continue interpreting Bent Flyvbjerg's How Big Things Get Done. This is the sixth and final part. This book serves as a valuable reference for us, as our consistent values, advocate innovation and change, emphasizing a spirit of adventure in our endeavors. Flyvbjerg argues that undertaking significant projects requires the use of mature technologies, relying on experience rather than adventure, ensuring project completion within budget constraints instead of embracing uncertainty. The heroes in this book are not adventurers, but craftsmen. Flyvbjerg focuses not on individual or company growth, but on projects, particularly large, singular projects. As individuals, you might prefer to play the leading roles in grand endeavors, such as architects or actors, aiming to showcase your personality and talent, leaving a unique mark on the world. However, Flyvbjerg reminds us that, to accomplish major tasks, it is crucial to have individuals behind the scenes, organizing human and material resources, coordinating every aspect. The leaders embodying a spirit of craftsmanship. So, does the spirit of craftsmanship suppress the spirit of adventure? Flyvbjerg often encounters a viewpoint from the audience during his lectures. Yes, the Sydney Opera House significantly exceeded its budget and took much longer than expected, but that doesn't matter. What matters is that it has been built. It stands there, universally recognized, leaving a mark in history. The details of those projects you mentioned are now insignificant. At this point, Flyvbjerg asks the audience, who was the genius behind the design of the Sydney Opera House? The answer is Utzon, who created it at the age of 38 and lived until he was 90. Do you know what other buildings he designed in his long life? No one in the audience knows. Why? Because Utzon only had this one masterpiece. After the Sydney Opera House, his reputation was tarnished, and no one dared to commission him for architectural designs again. If you think that cost and schedule are not important, can we ponder this question? If Utzon could have completed the Sydney Opera House within budget and on time, how many more masterpieces could he have created in his lifetime? While Sydney gained Utzon's design for the Opera House, the rest of the world lost out on his potential creations. He could have achieved much more. In this light, adventurers and craftsmen are not contradictory. Grand achievements may originate from gazing at the stars, but they must be accomplished through grounded, systematic processes. Some argue that systematic processes hinder great works. The notion is that, if Utzon's design were meticulous, accurately assessing the construction difficulty and cost, New South Wales might not have accepted his design due to the anticipated time and money. Sydney's Opera House might have chosen a mediocre appearance, and the world would have missed out on a great architectural creation. This perspective suggests that the unbelievable creativity in creating something miraculous is due to excessive optimism. Yes, unexpected difficulties arise during the implementation process, but people also invent unexpected solutions. These impulsive, large projects initiated on a whim might generate value higher than the costs incurred. If this is the case, don't overthink when you spot a genuinely good project. Just do it at any cost. Does this viewpoint make sense? A classic example is Steven Spielberg's 1975 film, Jaws. The project was rushed, the script poorly written, both mechanical shark props constantly malfunctioning, with one even sinking to the ocean floor. Ultimately, the filming took 3 times longer than expected, and the cost exceeded the budget threefold. Until the film was released, Spielberg believed it was destined to fail. He even feared for the ruin of his entire career. Little did he know that these adversities would contribute to the film's success. Because of the poorly written script, the director and actors had to improvise scenes and dialogues while shooting. Consequently, they created some profoundly impactful dialogues. The mechanical shark props looked unrealistic, forcing Spielberg to shift the narrative focus from sharks to the characters. The result was a human story more terrifying than the sharks in the water. These two characteristics transformed what was initially a low-budget B-movie into a remarkable suspense film. The box office revenue far exceeded expectations, making much more money than the budget overruns. In fact, as early as 1967, Columbia University economist Albert O. Hirschman wrote a classic article, suggesting that not everything should be meticulously planned. Sometimes, daring to act can lead to great achievements. You might not anticipate how many difficulties lie ahead, but you also can't predict the extent of your creativity. As long as your unleashed creativity surpasses the encountered challenges, you will ultimately succeed. If you consider all difficulties beforehand, you might not dare to act, and thus, you miss the opportunity to accomplish the task. Hirschman also mentioned that we should be grateful for an invisible hand that conceals difficulties, fostering excessive optimism, allowing us to dare to act. This ignorance is providential, deliberately hiding the difficulties ahead to encourage you to embark on the journey. It seems Hirschman's perspective holds some truth. When you finally overcome challenges and accomplish something, you might indeed reflect. If I knew it was this difficult, I might not have started. But I'm glad I did, because I didn't realize my potential. Hirschman gave an example. Someone opened a paper mill near a bamboo forest, conveniently using bamboo for paper production. Unexpectedly, the bamboo died later on, leaving the factory without raw materials. However, the factory didn't shut down. They proactively addressed the issue by establishing a supply chain for bamboo from elsewhere. They even cultivated a bamboo variety that grew rapidly and discovered alternative paper-making methods. The paper mill ended up thriving, showcasing unexpected creativity. If Hirschman's strategy of daring to act is correct, Flyvbjerg's strategy of slow thinking, fast action would be wrong. Yet, Flyvbjerg emerged victorious. The crucial aspect here is that examples alone are insufficient. You need to let the data speak. Hirschman's ideas are inspiring, but his approach is somewhat like a high school essay, merely listing 11 cases, without scientific statistics. If I were to write an article saying, look at Jobs, Gates, Zuckerberg, and Oprah, all college dropouts, who later became IT industry giants. Therefore, dropping out of college is the key to entrepreneurial success, would you believe it? Of course not. You'd recognize that I might be falling into the survivorship bias. To understand the relationship between dropping out of college and entrepreneurial success, you must analyze all dropouts and non-dropouts who became entrepreneurs and compare their success rates. Hirschman lacked data, but Flyvbjerg has data. Flyvbjerg conducted a thorough analysis using his extensive database of large projects, built over decades. If Hirschman is correct, the unexpected gains in creativity during project implementation should outweigh the costs over budget. However, Flyvbjerg's statistical results show that only 1/5 of the projects support Hirschman's claim, with the remaining 4/5 projects yielding lower gains than budget overruns, meaning it was not worth the investment. For a risk investor, one might argue that a success rate of 1 out of 5 projects is normal, as long as the returns from that one project are substantial enough to compensate for the losses of the other 4. However, Flyvbjerg's data suggests that, on average, the returns from that one project do not offset the losses from the other 4. Data indicates that the risks of adventure outweigh the rewards. Jaws is an exception, not a model to emulate. Or, in other words, if Spielberg had diligently polished the script, using Pixar's process, the movie would have been even more successful. While some people can unleash creativity in desperation, and others write the best articles under deadline pressure, in general, pressure tends to suppress creativity. Free creativity requires leisure and funds, and such actions are best taken during the project's preparation phase. In summary, pursuing large projects with the spirit of an adventurer is not advisable. A more suitable attitude is that of a craftsman. Flyvbjerg concludes the entire book by listing some guiding principles, including those mentioned earlier. One of the most crucial aspects is related to people. It's best to have a masterful expert in charge of the entire project, and ideally, this expert should come with their own team. You must provide excellent logistical support, especially regarding safety equipment on site. Meticulous arrangements should be made for the workers' living conditions. Happy workers lead to high-quality work. Since large projects involve collaboration between multiple companies, including workers, engineers, various suppliers, etc., you need to be highly skilled in coordinating relationships between all parties. Ideally, these teams have worked together many times before and trust each other. A person who led IT projects totaling several $billion once told Flyvbjerg that, over more than half the time, his job was like that of a diplomat. He had to establish good relationships with all parties, gaining their understanding and support. These relationships shouldn't be built only when the project starts, but should be accumulated over time. Maintaining relationships is viewed as risk management for the project, because conflicts between parties, in case of any issues, can be fatal. Apart from personnel issues, the overall project commander must possess a strong risk awareness. Don't rely on encountering danger before eliminating it. Actively seek dangers from the beginning. Because there are too many anticipated dangers, you might even think that participating in this competition is not to win, but just to survive. Enduring to the end is already a victory. Besides the details, you also need a big-picture perspective. Consider the real purpose of the project, compare it with similar projects outside, and maintain an external perspective. You even need to consider refusing. If a project is tight on time, heavy on tasks, low on funds, and clearly unprepared in various aspects, you must learn to say no. Ultimately, like undertaking any significant task in the real world, managing large projects requires overcoming various biases in your mind. You cannot work in isolation. If you can genuinely master all these aspects and handle various large projects, you can be considered a prime ministerial talent. The world needs you. When we read novels like Romance of the Three Kingdoms, we often feel that heroes like Guan Yu and Zhao Yun, who charge into battle and are especially skilled fighters, are the coolest. We aspire to be like them. However, in real warfare, you will find that, most of the time, the commander is not focused on leading the battle, but on logistics, ensuring various relationships. Many key factors in accomplishing significant tasks are not as dramatic as we might think. This book, How Big Things Get Done, concludes here, hoping it deepens your understanding of the real world.
If you feel there is value in this, please like, subscribe to this channel, and leave your thoughts or suggestions in the comments section. Let's grow together and read more good books.